A lot of organizations, of course, the downsizing of organizations put a great deal of pressure on it. The change aspect of it is there. But a lot of people are also having a real hard time with their time management or truly embracing the extra responsibilities. Do you help them make that a
Yeah, and you know what I say? You can't manage time. Time is a one-way street. You know, you can't turn back the hands of time. You can't take time forward. That's the biggest mistakes we make. I always tell people
because that was a buzzword at one time, wasn't it?
Not anymore.
Time management.
I mean, my husband still says that to me. I go, where do you come from? We don't do time management. He's like, we're going to do time. I said, we don't do time management.
Right.
You have to manage yourself. You know, if you read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, there's an amazing a piece in there around managing yourself first. I mean, you know what, Dan? All roads lead back to self. That's where you're going to find the answers. We're always looking externally for answers when it comes to change, when it comes to leadership, when it comes to stress. The road leads back here. And that's the reason why we never get back here is because people are afraid of themselves. People are very afraid of themselves because when you have to lead, the road has to lead back to you and you ask yourself some important questions, that can be very painful. That can be extremely, extremely painful. In my life, when I've had to go through many things, one of the bonuses I think that I've had is the knowledge that it has to come back here. You got to start here. You got to start with self and get the answers there, and then you leap forward. If you haven't done the homework here, it's going to all come back to you.
How much do you say to people, test your instincts, test what it feels like? Because I'll be honest with you, there's been times that I've tested my instinct. Oh boy, was I ever wrong. And Dan, isn't that part of the self-awareness journey? We're not always going to be right. You learn from those. No, you don't understand. I want to be right all the time.
Oh, you want to be right? Well, that's not going to happen, Dan. But don't we all want to be right? It's very true. I mean, that's where it comes back to. And that's why we have the situations that we have now. And I'm not going to downplay what's happening because I understand it and my family's being impacted by it too. But the reality is there's no place like home.
Will we learn from this period of time? Because our forefathers, our parents, my father that's 95 years old, went through the Depression. They did great things then. We forgot about their contribution. So will this be a time that we won't forget about, and hopefully our children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren will be able to speak of this time?
I hope so. And you know what, Dan, that's a very good point, and it's a message that I always bring to my participants. I'll say, you know why we got to get it right? Because there's a generation following us. There's a generation following us. And for me, every single day, because I have 2 teenage sons who I love and adore and more than life itself, I know that I have to be an example to them because, you know, I'm not going to be here one day, but they're going to be here. They're the next generation to follow. So we got to show them that we're resilient. We have to show them that, yeah, this is the reality of life and it's tough and all those kind of things happen, but we can still prevail. We can still get over it. We can still get by it because what lesson do we bring our children if we're all dead by the end of it? Like, I'm dead what I mean emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, just drained every single day. What does that do for our children? How do we prepare our next generation? I love Barack Obama. You heard me talk about that because one of the things I loved about him is that he always talked about hope. And I'm telling you, I know you talk about the meat on that bone, but people themselves can be that meat on the bone.
I love, and I'm glad you brought that up because the meat on the bone is a very important point. And I've learned that it's great to talk about hope, but I remember Barack Obama when he did his joint address to Congress and the House. And he said, let us set out a path. And it's very much what Kennedy said, let us set out a path that may not be completed in 8 years, it may take us 80 years. But his wording was, let us set out a path that every child will be educated. Let us lead in the world in education. Let us put out the task that it's no longer okay to drop out of school. And I thought that was a really interesting point. It wasn't about working harder or those kind. He's saying let's get back to the basics.
Get back to the basics.
Mom and dad, faith,
you know,
family,
faith, family, friendships. You know, that's back to the basics.